His life had been calm and ordinary, but one fateful day changed everything forever. That morning, he was just an average man, engaging in physical activities as usual. At that time, he was an amateur bodybuilder, frequently using new supplements to boost his health. However, he didn't expect that one of those supplements would lead to a tragedy. During the supplement intake in a public bathroom, he began to feel dizzy. He tried to steady himself but failed. He fainted, lost consciousness, and collapsed onto the cold tile floor. Moments later, he started vomiting uncontrollably, and everything else was just a blur and darkness. Time passed without him knowing. When he began to wake up, everything had completely changed. He no longer felt any pain, no longer sensed his body. Instead, he found himself sitting in a comfortable chair, like one in a movie theater, but the surroundings were entirely unfamiliar. In front of him was the scene of a lifeless body lying on the floor. At first, he couldn't recognize that it was himself. It was like watching a movie where he was just a spectator. But the movie didn't feel distant. It felt strangely familiar. He stared at the motionless body, but there were no emotions attached to it. It felt like the body of someone he didn't know. But things became even stranger when he started hearing the thoughts of everyone around him. The restaurant staff, the cooks in the nearby kitchen, all their thoughts appeared vividly in his mind. Every single one of their thoughts was clear and loud, to the point that he wondered if this was some kind of exaggerated fantasy film. As he continued to observe, he saw a team of medics arrive and start dealing with the situation. They found his body, quickly placed it in a body bag, and prepared to transport it. All their actions appeared in slow motion to him. He overheard a voice inside the ambulance, a young medic chastising himself for not doing enough to save the patient. These thoughts caught his attention, but suddenly an unexpected light flickered from inside the medic. That light gleamed as if a bright bulb was shining from within the medic's heart. A strong voice echoed in the medic's mind. "This one is not dead." The voice was so clear and firm that the medic paused for a moment, but then dismissed it, thinking, "It's just imagination." Everything continued until the voice spoke again, but this time the light shining from the medic was even brighter. Breaking standard protocol, the medic unzipped the body bag and searched for a sign of life. He couldn't feel a pulse, but somewhere in the patient's leg, he sensed a spark, a faint glimmer. That was enough for the medic to justify his continued efforts to revive the body. While his body was being transferred to the hospital, he began to feel something strange happening. It was as if his physical body and his soul were slowly merging. He could feel everything his body was experiencing. The uncontrollable seizures, the medic strapping down his arms and body to prevent violent reactions. It was a sensation of connection between his physical form and his consciousness. Yet there remained an inexplicable separation. He looked down at his hands, the hands of his soul, and then realized they were the very same hands that were bound by the straps on the body he was watching. That moment of realization shocked him, and he began to understand that everything he had witnessed was not a movie, but the reality of his own death. He had died. Fear overwhelmed him as memories of every mistake in his life flooded back into his mind. He saw every wrong he had done, every time he hurt someone, all flashing before him as though he was reliving each moment. The fear and self-reproach tormented him, plunging him into a dark spiral of negative emotions. But just as he hit rock bottom in despair, a strange warmth began to spread from behind him. That energy enveloped him, gently embracing him, making him feel loved and cherished. The sensation was so powerful that it dispelled all his doubts, all his feelings of inadequacy and helplessness. In that moment, he realized that despite all the mistakes he had made, the good deeds he had done were not few. He saw those good actions he had even forgotten, those moments when he didn't realize he was doing something good. And as he reflected on everything, he recognized that there was far more good than bad. Once again, peace washed over him as he realized that he was indeed worthy of being saved. As he felt the warmth spreading, it seemed like there was a shift in the space around him. He turned, and standing before him was a man dressed entirely in pure white. The man's face brought a sense of peace and unexplainable dignity. In that first moment he thought, "This is God." But the man smiled gently and shook his head. "No, I am not God. I am merely your guide. I am here to help you decide where to go next." He stood still in front of this unexpected figure. The guide, with a soft voice, continued, "You have two choices. You can return to your body and continue the unfinished life, or you can follow me and go anywhere in the universe you desire." He felt the love and peace radiating from this man, a love that words could not describe. Deep down, he realized this was what he had yearned for all his life. The love and serenity were unlike anything he had ever experienced on earth. He asked the guide, "Where does this energy come from? Why is it so powerful and beautiful?" The man smiled. "It is the energy from home, from where you truly belong." Upon hearing the word home, he instantly understood that it meant heaven. Part of him wanted to return to his body, but another part longed to be immersed in this loving energy. He couldn't stop himself from asking, "Can I return home?" The guide, who introduced himself as Drake, looked at him with deep sympathy and understanding. He said, "You can, but first, you must learn the most important lesson of your life before you are ready for the journey home." A mix of curiosity and anxiety welled up inside him, wondering what those lessons would be. Drake began to explain. "The first and most important lesson you need to learn is about authenticity. Before you can move toward heaven, you must find your true self." He listened carefully to every word Drake said, though his mind hadn't fully grasped the meaning yet. Drake continued, "Throughout your life, you have lived many different roles. You have been a son, a friend, a worker on construction sites, or a person on TV shows. Each version of you in those situations has a part of the truth, but also parts that are not truly you. The important thing is to find the authentic core of yourself amid all those roles." Drake's words made him reflect more deeply. He had lived so many roles, sometimes unsure which one was his true identity. Drake went on to explain, "You can connect the authentic parts of yourself from all those roles and form your true self from them. That is the version of you that can grow and become ready for heaven." He looked into Drake's eyes and felt the truth in every word. He recalled the times he had tried to be someone else, tried to please others, forgetting what he truly wanted. But now he understood that only by living true to his nature could he move forward on this journey. Drake continued to teach, "This world is not a courtroom but a classroom. Life on Earth is just a short phase, a place to learn and grow. Do not think you are being judged for your past mistakes. Instead, see this life as an opportunity to learn and become better." Drake's words were gentle but powerful, leading him to a new understanding. He had once thought that all the pain and challenges in his life were punishments for his mistakes. But now, he realized that life was merely a classroom where he could learn from difficulties and grow to become a better person. Drake then explained the next lesson. "Love and forgiveness are among the most important lessons you need to learn. But true love cannot emerge unless you understand yourself first. You cannot love others if you do not love and accept yourself." Drake's words made him understand the nature of love more clearly. Throughout his life, he had always sought love from others, but he had never truly loved himself. He began to realize that only when he lived true to himself could he love others genuinely. With Drake's teachings, he began to feel a transformation in his awareness. These lessons were not just theories, but were sinking into every cell of his being, turning him into a new, stronger, and more authentic version of himself. As Drake finished his lecture on authenticity and love, he felt as though he was ready for something greater. But deep down, he knew that his journey was not over. There were still many important lessons he needed to learn before he could move to the next stage of his journey. After the profound lessons from Drake, he began to feel a change within himself. He was no longer the man lost among the chaotic versions of his identity. Everything became clearer, more transparent. His mind opened, embracing the truth of his true self, and he felt a peace he had never experienced before. Drake continued to guide him. Now you are ready for the final step. You have understood that life on Earth is not a punishment, but an opportunity to learn and grow. You have also realized that only by living in accordance with your true self can you love genuinely. But there is one last thing you need to know before deciding your fate. Drake looked at him with eyes full of sympathy and understanding. You must return, he said, his voice warm but firm. You have not completed your mission on Earth. He felt a deep resistance within himself. Returning to that body, facing the life that had caused him so much pain, confronting the challenges he had once avoided. That was not what he wanted. All he desired now was to stay here, in this place of serenity and boundless love. But I want to go home, he said, his voice almost pleading. Drake smiled kindly. Home is still waiting for you, but the time has not yet come. There is a reason you need to return. You have a greater purpose in this life. Drake's words seemed to awaken something within him. He realized that, despite all the pain he had endured, his life was still incomplete. There was something he had yet to do, a mission unfinished. But what was it? Could he endure more difficulties on his journey? Drake continued. You have seen a glimpse of humanity's future. The world is standing at a crossroads, with one path full of light and love, while the other is covered in darkness and fear. This division will become clearer in the coming years, and your mission is to help people choose the path of light. As he heard this, he began to understand his purpose more clearly. He had lived in doubt and insecurity, but now he felt a strong determination. He had to return to help others, to help them see the light in their own lives. Drake went on. The future you've seen won't come immediately. There will be a separation between those who choose love and those who choose to live in fear. Those who choose the light will create communities that live in peace and prosperity. But there will also be those who are imprisoned by fear, building invisible cages around themselves. He envisioned that future, a world where cities of light rise from the ashes of fear, where people live in harmony and love, with no more division. But the road ahead would not be easy, and he knew that he had to return to contribute to building it. Drake paused for a moment, his eyes filled with love but also seriousness. You will face difficulties when you return. Your heart will feel heavy, and there may be times when you want to give up. But remember, you have seen this vision of the future, and you have the strength to overcome these challenges. He knew that what Drake said was true. When he returned, he would have to face a world full of chaos and suffering. But he also knew that he couldn't turn his back on his responsibility. Drake continued. There will be others, like you, who choose love and light. You won't have to fight alone. Seek them out, and together you will build that future. Only when we unite can we defeat the darkness. With those final words, Drake stepped closer and placed his hand on his shoulder. Now it's time to go back. At that moment, he felt a powerful force pulling him back. Everything became hazy, and the light around him gradually faded away. He felt himself being drawn into a dark space, and in an instant he realized he was lying on a hospital bed. His body felt heavy, and the pain returned. He heard his brother's prayer beside him, and in that moment he knew he had come back. He opened his eyes, seeing the white lights of the hospital, and felt life returning to his body. Everything had changed, but he knew this was only the beginning of a new journey. a journey to help others find the path to light and love, just as he had found it.